Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome. My name is Captain Chad Cave, and it's an honor to be the Master of Ceremonies for tonight's event. Would everyone please stand for the presentation of colors by the Frederick County Fire Rescue Honor Guard and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Please allow me to introduce our guests as well as thank them for their attendance at various levels of support that they have given our organization. We ask that you hold your applause until the end. With us today is the Honorable Jan Gardner, Frederick County Executive, Interim Chief Thomas Coe, Frederick County Division of Fire Rescue Services. We have Acting Deputy Chief Kenneth Poole, Frederick County Division of Fire Rescue Services. We have Deputy Chief Kevin Fox, Director of Volunteer Fire Rescue Services. Michael Darwick, Assistant Chief of the Volunteer Fire Rescue Services. Deputy Chief Steve Leatherman, Frederick County Division of Fire Rescue Services. Alan Hurley, President, Frederick County Volunteer Fire Rescue Association. Battalion Chief of Training, Lenny Stolberg, Frederick County Division of Fire Rescue Services. Battalion Chief of Emergency Medical Services, Michael Cole, Frederick County Division of Fire Rescue Services. Dr. Jeffrey Fillmore, Frederick County Medical Director. A special thank you goes to Rick Harcum, Chief Administrative Officer of Frederick County Government, Frederick County Division of Fire Rescue Services Honor Guard, Frederick Health Hospital, Maryland Institute Emergency Medical Services System, Shock Trauma, University of Maryland Medical Center, and Meritus Medical Center. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce the Honorable Jan Gardner, Frederick County Executive.
Good evening, everyone. It's really my honor and privilege to be here this evening to welcome you and to extend congratulations to the 10 of you who are Frederick County's newest paramedics. It really is a year of hard work. I really want to congratulate you for all that you've done to invest your time and energy and to be successful in this program. We're really here to celebrate what you've been able to accomplish over the past year. This truly is a hard-earned achievement. For those of you who may be watching this, these 10 men and women that are being recognized this evening have worked incredibly hard to become paramedics. The requirements to move from emergency medical technician to the more advanced paramedic certification can be intimidating. During the compressed paramedic class, students learned anatomy and physiology, which in itself is pretty daunting, legal and ethical issues, pharmacology, medical math, and much more. In addition to all of the class time, they logged hundreds of hours of clinical time at a hospital and completed a field internship on a medic unit. They completed over 360 hours of lecture, more than 250 hours of lab work, 430 hours at a hospital, and an average of nearly 500 hours in the field. In total, the entire process took more than 1,500 hours, which is 10 times longer than the typical EMT course. So congratulations on 1,500 hours of hard work. On top of that, students had to pass 6 different exams before they could take the final exam. So that's a lot of exams. The class average score was 86%, which is very impressive. And these 10 individuals, Michael, Catherine, Nathaniel, Carly, Ethan, Lauren, Patrick, Jason, Brittany, and Jennifer, met all of those requirements. They also have to pass 2 rigorous national certification exams, both a skills test and a written test. 7 of them made it through the national process on the first try, which is very good and on par with the average across the state of Maryland. I want to congratulate all of you on the top quality work that you have done on this journey and for the dedication and hard work you have shown along the way. Being a paramedic is certainly more than test scores or passing rates or even the number of hours that you've logged. It really, at the end of the day, is all about helping people and helping people in need in our community. The higher level of service that a paramedic brings does come with a lot of new responsibilities. It really does provide advanced care that you're now asked to perform and deliver to people. You'll be asked to provide comfort and to deal with people, both patients, their families, their friends, who's ever with them when you respond, who are facing a pretty daunting circumstance, one of their worst days. When you are in the field, remember that the human side of being a paramedic, the caring side, is critically important and really just as important as the medical side. I really can't stress the human side enough. It's really what the job is all about. You'll make a big difference to the people you touch, and they will remember how you treated them and how you made them feel, as well as the service that you provided to them. They will remember how you were respectful to them and the kindness that you showed them. Again, this job is all about serving people. And that's true whether you're serving as a career member of our Division of Fire and Rescue Services or you're giving your time as a volunteer. Clearly, you're all very passionate about helping people, and for that, I say thank you. Thank you for choosing to be a paramedic. Thank you for choosing to go through the process to accomplish this achievement. We really will benefit from all the service that you will be providing over the years to the citizens of Frederick County. And I also need to thank and want to thank your program director, Captain Kathleen Harn, and your instructor, Firefighter Paramedic 3, Margaret Novacek. Thank you. I have to say I hold these 2 women in high regard. They really are the best of the best. They've really made sure we had a well-certified and accredited program. And so you've learned from people who really know what they're doing, so I'm sure they've taught you very well. I'm grateful that all of you have chose to serve in Frederick County, so thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Gardner. And now I'd like to invite Interim Chief Tom Code to the podium for his opening remarks.
Good evening. I'd like to join the county executive in sharing my congratulations with the graduates on their successful completion of the 2019 Paramedic Educational Program. You guys did it. And trust me, I know how you felt the first day of class, and more importantly, I know how you felt the day of national registry testing. There's nothing more intimidating than facing those challenges in the service. Tonight is an evening we celebrate the accomplishment of 10 public safety professionals as they have each successfully completed what is without a doubt the most challenging and intensive training program offered in the fire service. Over the last 10 months, the members of Paramedic Class 5 have completed more than 1,500 hours of training that included lecture, practical skills, and clinical experience. After hours of study and what seemed like hundreds of tests and quizzes, the graduates are now poised to become the premier pre-hospital care professionals they've trained to be. Paramedics are truly incredible individuals when you think about it. While the skills they perform, the medications they administer, and the protocols they follow are similar to others in the medical field, paramedics get to do all those things in the most austere environments. They perform critical life-saving interventions in a muddy ditch, in the middle of a snowstorm, underneath a tractor trailer, and 5 miles up a mountain trail. Those added environmental complexities make the paramedic's job like none other in the medical field. There is truly never a normal day at the office. The Frederick County Division of Fire and Rescue Services is regarded as one of the top emergency medical services programs in the state of Maryland. Emergency medical services makes up about 80% of our annual emergency response workload. With your graduation tonight, you've stepped up to take on a new role with increased responsibility that will ensure the reputation of Frederick County EMS is maintained well into the future. It is imperative that I pause and thank the families of the paramedic class. Your loved one's success in this program is due in large part to your support over the last year. I'm sure it's been challenging as the graduates returned home from class, tired, stressed, emotionally drained, maybe even grumpy. There's most likely been family events missed due to clinical scheduling, or so they can stay home and study for the next big test. Graduates, I'd like you to join me in thanking your loved ones for the support they provided you as you completed your paramedic training program. I, like the county executive, would like to take a moment to recognize Captain Kathleen Harn and firefighter paramedic Margaret Nowalczyk, as well as all the other instructors and support staff that aided the paramedic class in their training experience. Captain Harn serves as the EMS program director within the training office, and firefighter paramedic Nowalczyk served as the lead instructor for paramedic class 5. This tandem put in a tremendous amount of work, both on and off duty, to ensure your success. They've created a training environment that not only made you ready for the National Registry testing, but more importantly, made you ready to hit the street. Our EMS training program has an amazing success rate and is frequently looked upon as the model in the state of Maryland to follow. The two people most responsible for that are Captain Harn and Instructor Nowalczyk. Paramedic Class 5, please join me in showing our gratitude for all of their efforts in ensuring your success as a paramedic student. Graduates, I thank each of you for your hard work, your commitment and your dedication to this program over the last year. You have attained a new skill set that includes the knowledge of anatomy and physiology, pharmacology, and numerous life-saving interventions. What is more amazing are the intangibles of crisis management that you've attained through this process. Critical decision-making, stress management, and leadership traits that paramedics acquire through their initial certification are critical to their success in the field. These new paramedics are resilient and ready to handle any incident that comes their way. So with that tonight, class, I thank you and I wish you great luck. I'm very excited to give you your certificates in the next few minutes.
Thank you, Chief. Allow me to introduce today's keynote speaker. Jeffrey Fillmore has served as the Medical Director for Frederick County Division of Fire Rescue Services for the past 34 years. He earned his undergraduate degree as magna cum laude from Brigham Young University, subsequently graduating from the University of Utah School of Medicine. Dr. Fillmore retired from the Frederick Memorial Hospital after 35 years of service in the emergency department. Currently, Dr. Fillmore is the Maryland Fire Rescue Institute ALS Medical Director, as well as the MIMS Region 2 Medical Director, and has the distinction of being the longest-serving medical director in the state. Dr. Fillmore's hobbies include skiing, as well as traveling to visit with his 5 fabulous children. He is fluent in 5 languages and has served for 15 years in the Frederick County chapter of the Boy Scouts of America, in addition to completing numerous years with medical missions in underdeveloped countries. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Fillmore.
I'm sure there's people in the audience. We're looking around. Who's he talking about? Dr. Fillmore. I'll tell you, this is become a little bit of a, I don't want to say a habit, but it's been something I can look forward to every year. And as long as I keep doing this, they'll keep me as medical director, because Kathleen can't find anybody else that would do this feat. So I feel pretty comfortable with that. I think it's very appropriate that I was preceded by our county executive, and by Tom. Number one, Jan Gardner was very, very instrumental when she began her term, first term, in getting us accredited as a program that could teach the paramedic level within our own program. Not a small thing. It was a lot of work getting it done, and so there was a lot of work, and we really do appreciate that. Tom, number two, I think, we lose sight of the fact that people at Tom's level, most of the people here in uniform were once paramedics functioning in the street. And Tom was one of our paramedics. What year was it?
It was in the early 2000s.
Okay. I was going to put you in the 90s. I'm sorry. But I look over there and I see a bunch of paramedics that are just like, like all of us, just we're all getting a little bit older, So anyway, I have never been referred to as a keynote speaker before. So I thought about it for a minute. I thought, well, what's keynote, right? So I had to kind of think back. It probably has something to do with music, right? Keynote, playing in key. There's somebody, if you ever see an orchestra warm up, they have to get in tune. Somebody gives the note that they all tune their instruments to. That's the keynote. And I thought that's pretty appropriate considering what we do here, because like an orchestra, we have to function as a team. Everybody's got to be in the same key. We can't have somebody playing in key of G and somebody else in B flat and so on. And it doesn't work that way. And paramedicine doesn't work that way. So I think, if you've been around as a BLS provider long enough, you have a pretty good idea that you're part of a team and that your role is going to change. But being a team is still a very important concept. I'm going to dig out my glasses here because my notes, they're like a word. They're all on my phone here. Now, I kind of feel funny when I do these pieces because I'm the only guy here not in uniform. I mean, look around. Everybody's in uniform. Fillmore's not in uniform. But I found out Sunday that this is my uniform. And I'll tell you why. Okay, blue jacket, gray pants, right? I started wearing blue jacket and gray pants actually when I lived in Switzerland way back in the early 70s for several years. Not because it had anything to do with what I'm doing now, but it was actually the typical Swiss businessman's outfit. I used to refer to as Swiss nationals. And so, I have several suits. Last year, I think I wore a brown suit when we did this. But anyway, Sunday, my wife, who is an artist and shows art, was with a friend at the friend's house doing a display of art for people that wanted to start doing Christmas shopping. You could buy paintings, you could buy ceramics. And apparently, just as I was about to leave, and I had come from church, so I was dressed like this, the other lady's family from Western Maryland showed up, and after I left, they said, "Who is that guy dressed like a doctor?" I thought, well, what do you mean, like a doctor? And my wife's friend said, "Well, he is a doctor." So I guess this is a doctor's uniform. So I guess I'm proud to be wearing my uniform tonight. So my wife shared that with me the other day. I think she thought it might be a little ego boost. So here I am. I'm talking to what I consider, and I don't say this in any sort of way to simply to give you a compliment that you don't deserve, because you really do. But I feel like I'm speaking to the best and brightest of our firefighter EMTs that have been in our program, and others. Of course, not everybody's been necessarily in this program, but you're the people that weren't just satisfied to do first aid. You're the people that weren't satisfied to just sit around at the station waiting for a fire to happen. And how often does it happen, right? So, hopefully not very often, but you're the people that want to know the why and the how when you're treating somebody. Why are we doing this? How do we do it? This person's sick. What do I need to know what's the matter with them? That's what you wanted to know. You weren't happy just to be the guys that somebody says, "Hey, give me a blood pressure." Okay, that's fine. And it's very important And you're going to find out it's important because you're going to be asking people to do that for you. But you're the ones that wanted to know more. You wanted to do more. And that's great. I mean, your desire to know more about what you're doing and to be able to do more to help people out is really the ultimate in medicine. That's what we're all looking for, is those people, and here you are. Tom mentioned a few things about the program here, and I think it's interesting everybody likes to toot their own horn, but he mentioned Frederick as a program that's at the forefront, and it really has been, and I take no credit for this, but even when I arrived here 35 years ago, Frederick County had a program that in the state of Maryland was pretty well recognized. It began in about 1983, and for the first 12 years, and I think our volunteer in the group will be happy to know, we were a volunteer program for 13 years. We had a great ALS program, but it was run by volunteers. We had people like, if you know Scott Gordon, that were volunteering 2,000 hours a year. That's a full-time job, 2,000 hours, right? 50 weeks of 40 hours a week. Medical math, right? 2,000 hours. I mean, but this program, even then, though, was hitting way above its weight. There used to be a competition, and it took place on a statewide basis, and I know that Montgomery County had some of these events because I went down once, helped Dr. Alcorta. Dr. Alcorta used to be the state medical director, but he also used to be Montgomery County's medical director. And he would host these programs, and I went down a couple times to kind of help him out. And we had Frederick County people down there. If you, or when you, work over out of the Monteview station, Medic 1, look on the walls. There's plaques on the walls from our people who won the competition year after year after year. I mean, the standard of excellence has always been there. And again, I think, and John knows, John Dronberg here, he remembers those days. We had people from out of county that wanted to ride here because the experience was so good. I mean, the experience was really good. And you rubbed elbows with people that knew what they were doing. So having said all that, let me just give you, I'm supposed to give you advice, right? That's part of the reason I'm here. So I'm going to give you a little advice on how to not just keep your medical director happy, not just to keep your supervisor happy, but I think it'll keep you happy. Because you want to do a good job. Nobody's at your point in the game thinking, I can't wait to get out of here so I can go be a slacker at the station. I mean, nobody's thinking that. I get that. So, number one thing, love your job. You have the best job in the world. I mean, there's people who would die to have this job, but they feel like, I can't do that sort of thing, or I'm just not cut out for that, or I can't stand the sight of blood, that sort of thing. You've got the most wonderful job. You get to help people every day. And depending on what you bring with you, you can make people unbelievably happy or just unbelievably at ease with a bad situation. You can do that every day, several times a day. Love your patients. And I know that sounds kind of trite, but really, if you have a love for your fellow man and love for the people that you treat, it goes a long ways to making your job really, really meaningful. You're not just going to see somebody, you're not just going to see a broken leg, you're not just going to see a chest pain. You're going to see a real live human being that has a real problem. And if you really love those people and you want to do the right thing for them, it can make a big difference for you and for those people. That's why I say, if you pay attention to these things, you'll be a happy person as well. Don't get picky. Don't be one of those guys that says, oh, it's not a trauma call. Oh, man, you know. Every call can be a good call. Every call can teach you something. Every call is a chance to hone your skills, to manage the patient, to manage your crew. Even if it seems like something humdrum, it's a chance to teach. As you learn, you'll learn that you're also a teacher. You're teaching the BLS people. You're teaching other paramedics eventually. So every call is a chance to teach and to share what you know. Know your stuff. It really helps if you enjoy learning, and I hope that the last year has been enjoyable learning for you, because that's an important part of what you do. Things change. Things are changing all the time, and you have to stay on top of it. And your patients, you know what they assume? They assume you know everything. They really do. That's an expectation of the public. So stay on top of your game. My favorite example of that is if you know Danny Hughes. Danny is, I guess I should say he's a retired PG County medic, but he's been a Frederick County volunteer and resident for as long as I've been here. And he loves to learn. When I kind of oversee him, nobody really oversees Danny, but in a sense, I oversee him when he's teaching courses for MIFRE. And we get in discussions, and he's reading up on stuff. I mean, he's retired. He doesn't have to do any of this. He could be off vacationing all the time, but he just loves to keep reading up on stuff. And he tells me what the latest is on a lot of things all the time, at least from a paramedic point of view. I love it. I love just being around Danny just for that reason, because he loves what he does, and he loves to keep learning about it. Love your coworkers. There's a little cancer in EMS. I think you all know what it is. It's backbiting. It's one word for it. It's talking about others, you know, in a way that you wouldn't want people talking about you. Don't fall into that little stereotype around the dinner table at the station where it's like a bunch of little old ladies talking about people who aren't there. You know, gossip. But love the people you work with. See them as people that want to do their best, just like you do. Because they do. Ask for help. Don't let pride get in the way of taking care of your patients. There is no dishonor in realizing, it's actually very respectable, that you don't know everything. There's no dishonor in realizing that most of the time, I do say most of the time, two heads are better than one. Not always, but most of the time, right? And four hands is better than two on a lot of patients. You know, you have now, it's a pretty wonderful thing. We just went from having one supervisor on call, on duty every day, to two. That means we've doubled your resources when you need help. So I would have a really low threshold, especially early on, calling in if you have a feeling, and you've got to trust your feelings. You know, this sounds like something where we could use a little more help, or maybe a little expertise. You're still in charge. Supervisor comes, you're still in charge. But you say, what do you think? Here's what I got. You know, get kind of in that habit where you explain, you know, what you've already discovered, and you say, this is what I'd like to do. Do you think that's a good idea, or do you think I'm missing something? There's ways to express it that make it sound very respectable. Like, do you think I could be missing something? Or, you've seen a lot of these. What do you think? You know, that's never, ever going to be a situation where say, oh, so-and-so, he can't handle things on his own. I don't want you to do it every patient. You won't need to do it every patient. But where it's appropriate, don't be afraid to do it. We paid our supervisors to do this, you know, so it's not like you're putting them out. Don't get lazy. It's easy to get lazy as you do this job for years and years and years. It happens. If you try and keep things fresh by observing some of the things we've already talked about, you won't get lazy. Always be thorough in your examinations. The worst thing for you is if you have a patient that you take to the hospital and you didn't do a good exam because you weren't thorough, you got lazy, and they find something, it's very embarrassing, can be very embarrassing. So be thorough, don't be lazy. Don't be thinking about it's end of shift, you know, maybe we can just move with this patient and I don't need to do what I normally do because we're running out of time. Do your own evaluations. Be thorough. And be ambitious. See yourself as a leader, because the minute you're cut loose from your preceptorship, you're going to be a leader. In fact, you're going to be a leader with supervision while you're precepting. But you have to think of yourself as a leader, because the people around you, much like I think you've been doing the last few years, will see that paramedic in charge as the leader. And so they count on you to tell people what they need to do. Now, you notice I don't say tell you what to do. They will tell you what they need done, and they'll ask you to do it. And that's what you need to do. You're polite, but direct. You have to organize and lead. Read, take classes, be ambitious. Get all the training you can get. There's no training that's bad training. Aim to be a preceptor. Be the kind of paramedic that you say, I'm going to work really hard at this, I'm going to study, I'm going to know my stuff, I'm going to know my protocols, and I hope in a couple of years that when I apply to be a preceptor, I'll be ready to do it, and they'll want me as a preceptor. And I guarantee you that Kathleen will want you as a preceptor, unless something radical changes. But I think it's good to be ambitious. So when you get tired of doing the right thing, when you don't love what you do, if you find yourself looking for shortcuts to get back to the station, when you can't put your patient's needs first, if you're just fatigued from the constant high stress, and we recognize there's stress in your job, let your supervisors know. We'll figure it out with you where else you can fit in. Or if maybe we put you in a quieter station. But talk to people. Tell people how you feel. We want you to have a shelf life that's like decades, not years or months. But we do recognize that not everybody can do this for the rest of their lives. When I started emergency medicine, you know what people told me? They say, people do this for 5 years and then they burn out. And I think I burned out, but it took 35 years. Maybe it's just kind of a craziness that some of us have. But I think if you approach your job and enjoy it the right way, you can do it forever until your body wears out. Mine's kind of wearing out, I got to say. So now you're going to start your preceptorship. And there's lots to learn. Your journey's really just beginning. You've got the knowledge. You've passed your tests. I've seen you when we did your testing the week before, and a lot of you are very good at managing the patient, managing the scene. And that's the kind of thing you're gonna hone. You're gonna work on that, and we're gonna make sure you're experts at doing that for when you're out alone. We have really good people precepting you. Pick their brains. Always ask, maybe not as you're doing it if you're feeling pretty confident, but when you're done, say, what could I have done better? How would you have done this? Is there a better way to do this? Because they're dying to tell you, but they just don't want to take over your case. They've been instructed not to do that, and they should be pretty good at doing it. And just remember that from this point on, you're in charge. So you're on a scene. As soon as you're there as the lead paramedic, you are in charge. Not the company chief who got there ahead of you and is organizing his BLS providers and the other people, or helping manage the scene in terms of traffic and crowd and all that sort of stuff. You're in charge of the patient. You're the boss. So assume that. When you show up on a scene, you identify yourself, and you want to know who's already there, of course. But when it's clear that you're the paramedic that's there, the paramedic, the only paramedic, maybe there's others, but even if you're writing, say, Medic 1, and you show up on the scene, maybe there's a paramedic who came with the engine. You're still in charge because you're the paramedic of that unit that day. Okay, now it doesn't mean you can't ask another paramedic to help. You can't ask them, you can even ask people what they think about it. You know, what have you got so far, for instance, because they got there before you did. But you're in charge. So the treatment of the patient, where the patient goes, those kind of decisions are going to be your decisions. So during preceptorship, think about those things, because you have a security blanket. You have your preceptor there. But every case, think about that. Okay, I'm in charge, so how am I going to treat the patient? Where's the patient going to go? And those are the decisions you'll be making. And sometimes people won't agree with you, but you're in charge. That's part of being in charge. And like I said before, if it sounds like on the way this is going to be a complicated case, or maybe it would help to have a supervisor there, have a low threshold for calling in and saying, does the supervisor know? Is the supervisor on the way? I think I could use another set of hands. Easily done. Okay. Now, if this weren't a keynote speak, I'd say, do you have any questions? But we won't be taking questions tonight. But questions you'll have questions, and I hope that there's never any reason you feel like you can't ask questions. So we're very proud of you. We really appreciate your interest and your enthusiasm and how well you've done. and we really thank you for being part of our program. Congratulations.
I guess it's my turn. Good evening, everyone. For those of you not familiar with me, I am Margaret Novacek, and I had the pleasure of instructing the 10 individuals sitting in front of you today. Today is their day, and it's their time to be celebrated. Before I say a few short words, I'd like to thank everyone for gathering here tonight. Thank you to the Honorable Jan Gardner. Thank you to Intern Chief Tom Coe, Acting Deputy Chief Poole, Battalion Chief Stolberg, and Dr. Fillmore, and so many others, for your unwavering support of the Frederick County ALS Educational Program. Without you, none of this would be possible. I would also like to extend a special thank you to Captain Harn for her phenomenal management of this program, all the adjunct instructors that provided this class with the knowledge that surpassed anything I could have given in class, and all of our preceptors who solidify what the students learn and remained their sounding board while they tested their knowledge. I'd also like to thank our partners, Frederick Health Hospital and Meredith Medical Center, for providing their state-of-the-art facilities for our students to utilize during their clinical rotations. No words could ever express the gratitude I have to each of you for your support. It allowed me to navigate these uncharted waters with ease. It is my honor to be standing in front of you presenting yet another paramedic cohort that satisfied the requirements of our now nationally accredited ALS educational program. Paramedic Class 5 began with an arduous selection process in the summer of 2018. The class began with 13 individuals and started in November of that same year. We began with a month of online coursework that, as you have heard, included anatomy and physiology and some course preparatory topics. This was only the beginning. On January 7th of 2019, 13 students filled the cool seats in Classroom 1 in the annex of our public safety training facility. 13 individuals unknowingly embarked on a journey that would test almost every part of their lives. 10 of those individuals rose above the challenge and are now sitting proudly in front of you. The paramedic course load is a stringent one. The class met 3 days a week from 0800 hours until 1600 hours each day. The days consisted of lecture, lab, sometimes both. Some days were better than others for myself and the students, but we survived them all, no matter the weather, inside and out, literally. To shed some light on the layout of the class, as you've already heard, the program is divided into modules, 7 of them to be exact. Some last as long as 6 weeks, cardiology, and some end faster than you can say the word neonatology. However, each module ends with a written and skills assessment test. All of the students are required to pass both the written and the skills assessment test before continuing in the program. Talk about stress. But wait, there's more. The 6 modules and the final exam stretch over 10 months' time, and in this time, the students are also required to juggle clinical requirements. To give some perspective, most college-level paramedic programs stretch over a 2-year span. Our students completed all of the requirements that are the same as these college programs in less than 1 year. Each student is required to complete hundreds of hours of specific clinical rotations. They range from obstetrics to surgical rotations to satisfy their live intubation requirements. These students also complete medic unit rotations and a field internship before any of their coursework is considered complete. The field internship alone requires each student to reach a minimum of 450 patient contact hours, along with 50 emergency transport calls where the student serves as a lead paramedic. And this is all under the watchful eye of our preceptors. This alone is no feat, and all these 10 individuals sitting in front of you successfully completed all of those requirements. Moving forward, the class continues to meet the requirements for their National Registry certification by completing both the practical and written exams. Their final hurdle will be the Maryland Protocol exam, followed by our designate process that will deem them capable of functioning individually within Frederick County. And then, the best is yet to come. A career filled with selfless act of helping others. How can you ask for anything more? Before I end, I'd like to quickly address the class. Paramedic Class 5, it's been a long, winding road to get to where you are. and you've made it. You have proven to others, and especially yourself, that you can accomplish anything you set your mind to. I am very proud of each and every one of you for never giving up, for pushing even when you didn't think you could, because those are the hardest days, and continuing until the end. Remember what I always say, your work will speak for itself. So let it speak loud and clear to the dedication and pride you have in being a public servant. So, one last time, class, ready? Ready. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce, it is my pleasure to introduce the paramedic class valedictorian, Catherine Dixon. Katie, could you please come forward to receive your certificate and say a few words?
Good evening. On behalf of my fellow classmates, I would like to thank some key people who have supported our class from beginning to end. Namely, I would like to thank our lead instructor, Instructor Margaret Novacek. Instructor Novacek pushed us daily to learn more, do more, and be the best we could be. She worked tirelessly to cultivate us into compassionate, aggressive, and intelligent clinicians, reminding us constantly of our end goal and motivating us to keep going, even when we doubted ourselves. All of us had our struggles throughout this course, but her patience and consistency in education is ultimately a major reason for our success in this program. From the bottom of our hearts, we thank you. There were long days in lecture and lab, but there were also many more days spent on the medic units and in the hospital. Captain Kathleen Harn organized our efforts behind the scenes, managing not only clinical locations, but paperwork and bureaucracy at every level. As a class coordinator, she managed the daunting task of scheduling over 800 clinical hours for each of us. Her colorful and diligently coordinated Excel spreadsheets helped to track our clinical hours, making sure she dotted every I and crossed every T. Her attention to detail was imperative in ensuring we upheld the high standards for achieving our National Registry certification. Her efforts took place behind the scenes, but they did not go unnoticed. We thank you very much. Third, I would like to thank our support instructors and staff, including Dan Hughes, Adam Miller, Brittany Moravec, Carrie Malta, and Matt Friend. Included in this group is all of our preceptors, both on the medic units and in the hospital. Along with Instructor Novacek, these dedicated and knowledgeable instructors and preceptors are a direct reflection of our success and continued success going forward as paramedics in Frederick County. For my fellow classmates, we have each other to thank for the laughs, the tears, and the commiseration. You could say we were a very magnetic group from day one, coming together to support and encourage each other through every obstacle. It's been a pleasure and a headache, but I'm glad I've had each of you along the way. Finally, I would like to thank our friends and family who supported us this past year. We spent many long days and nights away from them and our responsibilities. Without the support, flexibility, and understanding from our family, none of us would have been as successful at completing this program. We have shared stresses and sacrifices, therefore tonight is as much a celebration for us as it is for you. Thank you very much.
We will now have the presentation of the paramedic class certificates of graduation. Interim Chief Coe, County Executive Jan Gardner, Dr. Fillmore, Deputy Chief Fox, Acting Deputy Chief Poole, Deputy Chief Leatherman, and President Hurley will be presenting the graduation certificates as well as a proclamation from the County Executive. If the dignitaries form the receiving line, they can congratulate the graduates. Please hold your applause until the end. Michael Curry, Frederick County DFRS. Catherine Dixon, Woodsboro Volunteer Fire Company 16. Nathaniel Harper, Frederick County DFRS. Carly Heflin, Frederick County, DFRS. Ethan Huntermark, Frederick County, DFRS. Lauren Lum, Frederick County, DFRS. Patrick Mangus, Frederick County, DFRS. Jason Porterfield, Frederick County, DFRS. Brittany Riley, Frederick County, DFRS. Jennifer Wilson, Frederick County, DFRS. Thank you. And now Chief Coe will come forward for his closing remarks. You may be seated.
This is really the moment you've all been waiting for, right? As new paramedics, it's imperative that you realize the awesome responsibility that lies before you. We are placing our community in your hands tonight to care for in their time of need. Somewhere in Frederick County right now, someone's wondering if they call 911 for a critical medical emergency, who will be the person that shows up? That answer is simple. After tonight, that answer is you. You are now the person that will be looked to provide quick, effective, and decisive life-saving interventions at someone's most desperate moment. But know that your journey to become a paramedic has not ended, but in fact just begun. Paramedics, like most in our service, are required to be lifelong learners to ensure that they stay up on new trends and technology in the game that we play. I encourage you to always keep learning, honing your craft, and making sure you're always ready to ensure that the citizens of Frederick County always receive the top-notch care that they deserve in their time of need. Above all, remember that a large part about caring for your patients is caring about your patients. Listen to your patients, be compassionate, and be sure to be their advocate. Members of Paramedic Class 5, congratulations on the successful completion of your initial paramedic training. I wish you all well in your future endeavors and look forward to seeing you out on the street, providing care to the citizens of our county. This concludes tonight's ceremony. Thank you all for coming. Have a great night and have safe travels home.